your hands and wave your arms. Play the drums and then rock the guitar. So clap your hands and wave your arms. You can play the drums and then rock the guitar. Sing Hosanna, oh, oh, Hosanna, Hosanna, oh, oh, Hosanna, Hosanna, oh, oh, Hosanna, Hosanna, oh, oh, Hosanna. Everybody praise the Lord. Everybody praise the Lord. Everybody praise the Lord. Everybody praise the Lord. So clap your hands and wave your arms. Play the drums and then rock the guitar. Oh, clap your hands and wave your arms. You can play the drums and then rock the guitar. Sing Hosanna, oh, oh, Hosanna, Hosanna, oh, oh, Hosanna, Hosanna, oh, oh, Hosanna, Hosanna, oh, oh, Hosanna.
Hi everyone! I hope that you guys are all doing well and are ready for today's lesson. So today's lesson comes from Luke chapter 24 verses 13 to 35, and we'll be talking about the Emmaus disciples. So the past few weeks we've been talking about Jesus' arrest, his death, and his resurrection. And today we will continue our story and talk about the day that Jesus rose from the dead and met up with two of his disciples. So these two men were walking to a village called Emmaus. And while they were walking to Emmaus, they were talking about all of the things that had happened. And while they were walking and talking, Jesus actually came and joined them and started walking with them. But these men, these two disciples of Jesus, didn't recognize him. Jesus asked them, "What are you talking about with each other?" The two disciples stopped walking and they looked sad. One of them, named Cleopas, said, answering Jesus, said, "Are you the only one who is visiting Jerusalem that doesn't know about the things that have happened?" And Jesus asked again, saying, "What things?" So the two disciples began to explain to Jesus what had happened. They told him about Jesus. They said that Jesus did and said powerful things, and that the religious leaders had Jesus put to death and Jesus died on the cross. The two disciples were hoping that Jesus was the Messiah that God had promised to send. They also talked about how some women from their group went to go visit Jesus' tomb, and they found that the tomb was empty. The women saw angels there, and the angels said that Jesus is alive. Now, of course, Jesus knew everything about what they were talking about. They were talking about him. They were talking about Jesus. And the two disciples were right. Jesus is the Messiah that God had promised to send. But they didn't truly understand why Jesus had to die. Jesus asked the two disciples, "Don't you believe what the prophets have said?" They said that this is what had to happen to the Messiah. The two disciples had hoped that Jesus was the Redeemer of Israel. And when Jesus died, their hopes were crushed. So Jesus explained to them why the Messiah had to die. starting from the words Moses and all the other prophets has said a long time ago. Jesus helped the disciples understand how God's word taught about himself, about Jesus. Jesus also explained how the scriptures all point to him. So when we read the Bible, or when we learn about the stories that maybe I tell you, or maybe your family tells you, all of those stories are pointed to Jesus, are all about Jesus. Afterwards, Jesus actually went to the village of Emmaus with the 2 disciples and stayed with them. They were sitting around a table to eat when Jesus took bread and gave thanks to God for it, and then he broke it and gave it to the disciples. And when this happened, it was that moment when the disciples were able to see that the person that they were walking with and talking with and eating with now all day was Jesus. Suddenly, Jesus disappeared, and the 2 disciples went to Jerusalem right away, and they found the others who followed Jesus and told them all that had happened that day. They told them that Jesus is alive. Today we continued the story from last week, and we learned about 2 disciples who were sad because Jesus had died. But little did they know that Jesus rose from the dead on the 3rd day, and he would walk and talk and eat with them, even though they didn't know it was him until the end of our story. So anyways, all of this shouldn't have been a surprise. Jesus talked about how he was going to be betrayed, how he was going to die on the cross, be buried, and even that he was going to be raised from the dead on the 3rd day to those who followed him. And just as our story talks about how Jesus explained to the 2 disciples that all of the scriptures are about Jesus, all the stories that we learned from the Bible are all pointed to Jesus' life, death, and resurrection. And this was all God's plan to rescue us from our sin. So that is the end of today's lesson. I hope that you guys remember that the whole Bible, every story in the Bible is about Jesus. Next week we will continue about after Jesus' death and how Jesus appeared to his disciples. So I hope you look forward to that. But until then, I will see you guys later. Bye!
Come on, clap your hands. Here we go. That's it. Yeah, we're all in this together and we're having fun. We're here to spread the love of God to everyone. Gonna get a little crazy, yeah, a little wild. Here we go now, come give it a try.